Okay guys, so today we're going to be having a bit of a play with our AK True Metals. You've probably seen a few reviews of these on the internet already. They just come in these little tubes. They're a wax based paint. They act a little bit like our artist oil paints that we use in modelling, but yeah, a little bit different because of the wax base obviously. Now like I say, you've probably all seen other videos on there, but what I haven't seen yet is trying to do a whole aircraft in this stuff and how it reacts to taping and weathering and different things like that. So I've just been playing with them, and what I've done is I've actually airbrushed these two aircraft on one side. Now one of them is done with the gunmetal colour, which is this guy here, the darker colour, and this one here is just done with the aluminium. Now I haven't buffed these yet, so I'll buff them up while I've got you on camera so you can see exactly how they come up. Now these can also be brushed on. You have to be a little bit careful with the brushing, what sort of surface you brush it onto, because you can leave brush strokes in there, and the brush strokes, when you buff it up, you can still see them in there, so you've got to be a little bit careful. But where they come into their own with using a brush, I'll get this hole into focus for you so you can get a bit of a look at it, if it's going to focus for us. Yep, and there we go. So I've just had a bit of a play with this. Now this brushing I've done on this hole is actually not just brushed on, it's actually, most of it's been dry brushed, so it's not just brushed on and then rubbed back. I've actually gone around dry brushed it. This one here I've done much lighter, just so you can still see the plastic through there. Now most of this has been done over just bare plastic. Some of it had an undercoat, some of it didn't. These guys up here again, you can see how nice that comes up, and that's just dry brushing again. This one here, that's the steel, and even it doesn't look much like steel, probably looks more like aluminium, but it comes up really beautiful finish on there. Just ignore the sides here, that was just playing around, and obviously the finishes aren't that great on there. It's just been playing around. This side here I polished up plastic, but I've done that on this side anyway. So down on the front fender here I've done a little bit of dry brushing on there as well. The dry brushing, trying to pick out detail, this stuff works really good for dry brushing, picking out detail, but you have to really get all that paint off the brush, otherwise it will go everywhere. And you can see these details up along here, just a little bit of brass and copper on the tail lights up this end. But yeah, beautiful for that sort of stuff. But I say that's not what the video is going to be about, guys. What we're actually going to do today is buff these aircraft up and see how they come up. I've got a buffing rag here, just like a lint free one. Now the first one here, this is the aluminium. Now this has been drying for about an hour now, so I'll start giving her a bit of a rub just on the leading edge here. And already I can see that's coming up really nice, and which I've come to expect from this stuff. It is superb, and this is what it is meant for. So I'll give it all a good rub over now, and I'll try and get this shine happening on here. The other thing I'm going to do while we've got them in this state, guys, is do the old tape test and stuff like that. Now I have done the tape test, and I can pretty much already tell you it doesn't like being taped over very much at all. Now this stuff, the more you rub it, the more it comes off too. It just keeps giving, and you can keep going and going till you get right back down to the plastic. It will actually eventually rub right through, so give it a good rub. And it's not that delicate, it's not too fragile. You can actually give her a good old buff up. Around that cowling there, you can see that's just coming up absolutely beautiful. This is coming up like a really nice aluminium finish, absolutely beautiful. It's probably not a World War II finish. Some of it looks a bit too shiny. It depended on the aircraft and where they were serving and how much of a clean they used to get and so on. But I mean, that's artistic license, guys. That's stuff for you to decide how clean you want your aircraft and how shiny and things like that. That's for you to decide. But this is obviously coming up really nice. Hopefully this camera's picking that up well for you. You can get a good idea of how this stuff really works. I won't take too long buffing this. I'll just give it a quick rub over so you just get the general idea of what it's going to come up like. Okay, now as you can see, that's come up absolutely beautiful. That's definitely a nice aluminium finish that we've come up with on there. That cowling, you can see that on there, absolutely beautiful. It's come up lovely. The wing, fuselage, it's all just very nice. That's exactly what we're after for aircraft. So that one there, like I say, is aluminium. What we'll do now, this one here, just ignore these wings on the other side, guys. These were just playing around with L-clads and things like that on the other side here. And the other one I had up here, this guy, I was doing decaling over this stuff, but that's after putting a bit of future on it, but I'll go into that a bit later. So this one here is the gunmetal. This is a darker colour, so we'll give this a rub and just see what it comes up like. Okay, that's coming up quite nice too. It's definitely brighter than your traditional gunmetal colour. And you can see on the raised details, as I'm rubbing this, these raised details out here are really taking on a shine. I've actually rubbed through those ones there, so you have to be a bit careful with the raised detail, obviously. Mind you, I was rubbing very hard on that spot too, so like I say, it is fairly hardy. You can give her a good old buff. Now that's a beautiful finish, but it's darker than the aluminium. It's a bit hard to pick up in this light, I'm sorry. I'll see if I've got, that may be better. I've got a bit of a light source there that may help or hinder it, I'm not sure. But yeah, it's coming up very nice, as I sort of expected it to, because like I say, I have been playing with this stuff a little bit. It may be, that colour may be much closer to a World War II aluminium. Well, it's still fairly shining, but not quite as shiny. You see that there? Let's move around so you can get different light on it and stuff like that. And you can see it has got quite a sheen to it. As far as dulling it down, I'm not sure about what sort of overcoats you can put on it to take that sheen out of it, whether it's going to react or whatever. I think that's going to be just trial and error, what you can and can't put over this stuff. I have laid future over it, but very thin, and then gone ahead and tried to weather it, and obviously it was too thin and just went straight through that. But where I'd put it on a bit thicker, you get that same effect that you get with L-clad when you put too much future over it. It just looks like nice shiny metal with a gloss coat painted over it. It's just not realistic. So, but yeah, what I will try and do with these guys here a bit later on is I'll use the future trick again, because the future doesn't seem to change the colour on this stuff at all. It doesn't dull it, it doesn't shine or anything unless you put too much on there. But hopefully it's getting a bit of a sweet spot between putting too much and too little on there. And if I can get a coat on there to protect it a little bit, like I did with the decals on this other one, you can do the decaling and stuff over it. It was just trying to do pin washes and stuff like that. But again, you may be able to do the pin washes once the future's had a few days to set properly, and do some quick pin washes on there, may be fine. But while I've got you here this time, guys, we'll do the old tape test. And we're going to use the Tamiya tape. Now, like I was saying, I have already played with this stuff already. It really doesn't like being taped over. Now, this is straight off the roll. This hasn't been rubbed on my hand or anything like that, so it's just straight off the roll. We'll put it over, rub it down like we normally do if we're going to mask that panel. We'll just let it sit for a second or so, and we'll get another piece off here, off our roll. Just a little piece. I'm starting to run a little bit short, and we'll put it on this guy over here. But what we'll do this time, I'll put it on the back of my hand. We'll see if we can take a lot of that tack off it and see how that goes. We'll put it right in the middle of the wing back here. Get this in the camera for you. See it. We'll rub it down. We'll let that sit there for a little bit and see how it goes. Okay, this guy here, that's straight off the roll. We'll take him off air. Now you can see, probably on that tape, you can see the silver coming off there. Not sure if you can see on that wing, it's definitely left a mark where it had been. Now what we'll try and do is give that a rub, see if we can get rid of that mark. Okay, that mark's looking very much like it's there to stay. It's obviously really affected the paint underneath it, so yeah, masking's a bit of a problem. I mean, that has got rid of it to a certain degree, but you can still see where it was. It's not pretty. So on this other guy here, what we'll take him off like that. Okay, that hasn't left anything at all. There's a little bit of silver on our tape, so obviously it's taken a little bit of silver off there, but so this one had been fairly well rubbed on my hand. It's got very little tack left, but this would be perfect for masking. If you want to do it like that, nice and delicate, that's going to work fine. There's not a lot of colour coming off on that, so it'd be fine to do that. But honestly, I think the way I done it the other day, where I put just the lightest mist of Future, okay, that's fine. It hasn't left anything there. So like I said, the other day I put a nice, really mist coat of Future over this stuff. I was able to tape over it, no problem at all, straight off the roll, peel it off rough, all that sort of thing. But that's once the Future definitely dried. You can't do it while it's still tacky or anything like that. But yeah, it can be done with whole aircraft. Now the other thing doing whole aircraft too, obviously guys, is handling it, because this stuff just keeps giving, it just keeps coming off. Your hands are going to end up, you can see mine are covered in silver stuff, and the more you handle it, the more you can end up with fingerprints in there. And you can, you know, if you hang onto a part like that, just left a fingerprint I can see in there now, you can buff it back out, but it's just going to be handling it if you do a whole aircraft. So like trying to do a gloss coat or something, you'll be able to hold it up somewhere, get a vice or something that can hang onto it somewhere without you having to handle it. It's just doing the buffing. Once you've done that, you can get it stuck onto something so you don't have to handle as much. Get a Future coat on there, a really light mist coat, and you should be right, you'll be fine after that. So like I say guys, that's my bit of a play with that stuff, doing whole aircraft. I haven't seen that done on any other videos. I've seen people do a lot of dry brushing on armour and things like that, like I sort of have on this guy here. Had a good old play around with it, and just to see what sort of effects I can get on it. But yeah guys, if you have any comments, or if you have any ideas you'd like to see me try with this stuff, or if you've come up with any techniques yourself, just leave me in the comments below, or link me to a video or something like that, and I'll definitely pass it on to other viewers. And till next video, and in the next video what I shall be doing, I'll just see if I've got the tube here somewhere. I do have it, but we'll be using another new AK product, which is the I've lost the jar, out of jar of it here somewhere, is the Extreme Metal, and that'll be my next video, and we'll have a play with that. I've already painted some aircraft. Just found it. This guy here, it's the AK Interactive Extreme Metal, so we'll have a play with that. And I've painted some whole aircraft in this stuff here, and done some comparisons with Oldclad and stuff like that, so we'll go through that in the next video. Okay guys, thanks very much for watching, and I will see you next time.